Alright, we're back again to work on the Whitman journal made from this vintage chocolate box. So we've got the cover done. Now I'm working on the inside cover. So I finished the first one, and what I've used is good quality cotton fabric and a vintage doily, and I've stitched around it, and this will be glued into the front cover at a later time after we've got the signatures in. Okay, so let me just show you how I did that. This can flip down too to make a little pocket. All right, so I've got my fabric roughly cut out, and I measured the back, and it was 10 inches by 6 3/4. So I cut a piece of paper from a grocery bag, and I'm just going to use my glue stick to just apply a complete and full layer. There we go. And now okay. Now I'm a bit of a neat freak, so I will neaten up these rough edges a bit. This is absolutely not necessary. It just helps me cope with life. I suspect that it will make things look neater. I don't know. I suspect that it doesn't matter. I'm doing a 3/8 of an inch just to give it enough room to glue and stitch. I saw a question on one of the Facebook groups the other day. Somebody was wondering whether they should get the 45 or the 60 millimeter Olfa cutter. I have a 28. I've had a 45. I would never use anything but a 28, but I didn't respond because I thought maybe it's because I've had a 28 for at least 30 years. And as I recall, I think that was the only size that was available back then. And maybe that's what my deal is. Okay. Now, the corners, I want to reduce some bulk. So I'm not just doing like an angle like that, leaving, you know, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch. I'm also doing a little bit of an open V, if you will. Just again to reduce some bulk in the corners. All right. I pressed and starched this fabric before I cut it. so there wouldn't be any ripples or weirdness. Okay, let's back to the corners. Just using a little bit of purple glue there. And I will, come on, I'll just turn that edge up and then make a little bend. Maybe if I had a pokey tool. If I wasn't doing this for the camera, I would have it up in my face. Okay. So I was watching a documentary series yesterday. It was a three-parter called, I think it was called Life in the Shadow of World War II. And it was, you know, how life was affected during World War II, mostly in Britain. So the first series was about rationing. And I started, I had started thinking when I read in the Mental Floss article that I talked about in my last video, that sugar had, I remember sugar was seriously rationed. How did they make all these millions of pounds of chocolate? And I think I got my answer. I can't say for sure, don't know. But during World War II, according to this video, this documentary I saw, Ireland remained neutral, and because their ability to get wheat to make Guinness beer was limited, the British Parliament made an export law that Guinness wouldn't be exported. It would only be for Irish use only. Well, apparently this caused a furor with the soldiers. They missed their Guinness. So the British offered to provide them with enough wheat to make Guinness so that they could export. And then it became a matter of coal. Couldn't get enough coal for the industry to make enough, so they stopped exporting Guinness again. And so the British government gave them coal and wheat, and I think something else. Well, I'm sure they didn't give it away, but I mean, made an exception in the rationing of products like that for the morale of the soldiers. There's a little part of the video where Guinness was actually boxing up beer to send as a gift over to the European, where soldiers were stationed in Europe. So I suspect that for the same reason, sugar was, rules about sugar were maybe relaxed for candy manufacturers so that soldiers could have candy and chocolate. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just a feeling I have. So I'm doing my best to make sure these corners are as sharp as possible. Which is the good thing about glue sticks, is it really allows you to mold things while it's damp. Yeah, I suspect there was some relaxations of rationing around sugar for candy manufacturers. And of course, these things had to be delivered or exported overseas, which would have been another issue because it would, I mean, that was a big problem. The Battle of the Atlantic was preventing a lot of exports from North America to Europe, and the U-boats were out there patrolling and destroying merchant marine ships that took down exports. Okay. I feel good about that. I had several doilies pulled, but the one I've decided to go with is this one. So it will be, and none of these are starched. I didn't want hard, pointy. I want relaxed, homey. Now, this has got a loose thread. I don't have a needle big enough to pull this through. Maybe I can just glue it in a couple of strategic spots. And tobacco. Tobacco would have been another thing. That would have been exported to ensure the morale of troops. So I did go to the Antiques Mall yesterday. I didn't get very much. I only spent about $20. I'll have to show you what I got in another video. But it was fun to look. I mean, there was a lot of things I would have liked to have picked up, but I don't need any more stuff. Really what I was going for was to find the magazine for that image, that advertisement. All right. I'm going to stitch this down. So, let me pause for just a second while I get my sewing machine up here. Alrighty, sewing machine is ready to roll. I like to start in this corner. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get some masking tape and kind of fix this here so it doesn't slide around. The thread I'm using is a gold color that matches this. Actually, it's my favorite gold color that I use for almost all of my stitching for junk journals. And I've lengthened the stitch length to 2.8. And I'm going to lower my needle and keep it in and just and as I come to the edge, I might have needed to take another half a stitch. So as I turn it, I know I want it a little farther over, so I'll needle up, move it, needle down. Perfect. Trying to keep this slow so that the camera doesn't shake as much. You know what I've done? I've put this in the wrong corner. I've got my fabric upside down. So let's just finish what we're doing. So what I wanted to say about the antiques market was there was a lot of booths that were 40, 50, 60% off. So clearly the pandemic has not been good for the vendors. Masks, lots of disinfectant were on hand. Some of the staff were wearing face shields. There was arrows taped to the floor, which way you could walk. There was a lot of cars there. The first floor was more crowded than the second and third floor. But it didn't seem to be crowded, although there's not a heck of a lot else to do. Okay, so I just did that as a double knot. Okay, so this is up. Let me double check with this. No. I did it the same way here. Well, poo. You're okay, Nancy. Don't you love it when you make a mistake and then you find out actually it wasn't a mistake? All right. So I'm just taping that back in position. And I'm just going to start I'm focusing. Just gonna capture a few bits where it's very loose. I don't want to go through any dense parts of the cotton. Okay, that's gonna do just fine. Just tie that off. I'm assuming you know what I'm doing, but just in case you're wondering, what are you doing, Nancy? I'm pulling the thread so that both ends of the thread come out on the back so that I can tie a knot and it doesn't show on the front. I could have, done a little reverse stitch, but that shows. And I didn't want it to show. Okay. Now I might need to add a little stitching here. We're going to see. I don't want it to hang down like that because it's a thicker lace. It'll be pretty bulky, but I think this is going to stand up on its own. Maybe I'll put just an inch of stitching there. Just a smidgy smoo. That way I don't have to worry about it flopping down. But it's still useful as a pocket. Okay. I'll just bring this up a little closer for you to see. So you'll see a little bit of the gold thread, but in general, you know, from arm's length, you're okay. And that is what that's going to look like. I can't glue them down right now because I have to put like the signatures be sewn to this bit, and then that will go down in there, and then these will be glued over top, just like that. Anyway, I am having the best time. I really am. I'm really enjoying making this. So thanks so much for joining me again. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, just a little add-on. I'm going to add a little more gold tissue paper because I'm afraid that this card is going to poke out and look obvious. So I'm just going to just do a little more Mod Podge. So if you know what, it probably would have been okay, but I would rather fix it now. Something to think about. It's done it again. Quit moving. Well, move some. There we go. Now don't move again. Okay. This one I'm going to wrap just slightly. One more. You know what I miss the most? Going out for breakfast. That was something we always do on the weekend, is go out and have eggs and bacon. I could go for a plate of eggs and bacon right now. Okay. There, that's done. Alrighty, you take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.